Well, my fellow pilots, good morning. As your Vice President of Finance, it is my duty to report to you on the health of your union's finances. Today, I'm happy to report that ALPA's finances have stabilized and are, in fact, improving. For a number of years, we've asked you to maintain your focus on strict financial discipline when managing your pilots' money. In response, you have taken significant and effective steps to bring stability to your MEC's finances. Now, many of those steps were painful, but they were necessary. And now these efforts are paying off. Your association stands on a firmer financial footing today than it has in past years and is ready to take on new challenges. With that in mind, we are moving forward with a budget for the coming year that reflects our improving financial condition. Indeed, our collective efforts have allowed us to get here. Now, where is here? Well, pilots are results-oriented. The results are in the numbers, and the numbers reflect your stewardship of our pilots' hard-earned dues dollars. For example, ALPA's dues revenue continues to increase. For 2015, we budgeted for the highest income in over 10 years, while our current year's dues revenue is running almost $4 million ahead of plan. We have also improved our liquidity with a 12-month average of $18.7 million. This allows ALPA to respond to not only challenges, but also to opportunities, and we respond to them quickly and effectively. As we all know from our own personal budgets, a raise doesn't do much for your wallet if you're spending more as well. Well, ALPA has reined in spending and controlled budgets at every level and is currently operating at a surplus of $8.3 million. Rather than seeing our contingency funds dip lower and lower, we've started rebuilding these funds so that they can continue to be a resource for our pilots. The operating contingency fund has recovered, and it is at its best financial position since 2003. The major contingency fund balance has stabilized, and beginning in 2015, it will be recapitalized with dues money for the first time since 1994. We've also been able to reduce premiums for our loss of license insurance. This provides real savings to our U.S. members every month while continuing to protect their futures. And finally, our improved financial condition has allowed us to lower the dues rate in 2014 for the first time in decades, and the Executive Board will be considering a recommendation at this meeting to lower the dues rate even further in 2015. Now, it's important to recall that this conversation about a dues rate reduction would not have been possible even 5 years ago. The fact that we are having that discussion is a demonstration not only of our firm financial footing that we've built together, but also it is reflective of our commitment to exercise sound judgment and fiscal responsibility for years to come. When telling people where you're going, it's important to start with where you've been. Let's take a look at last year's financial audited reports. In 2013, we ended with a deficit of $15 million. Now, I just told you about our financial future and our firm footing, so if you looked at these results, comparing them to 2013, it would seem like quite a turnaround this year. However, we have to look at the numbers closely to see the root cause. The primary drivers of that deficit in 2013 were the expenses incurred to defend and ultimately settle the Brady lawsuit. While these one-time expenses caused a deficit, they were absorbed by our cash reserves, and they were absorbed without impairing our operations, and they were absorbed without needing to borrow a single dues dollar to fund the settlement. Also in 2013, while dues revenue continues to increase, many of our expenditures were stabilized or even reduced. For example, travel expenses across the association were lowered by 23%, and flight pay loss did not increase over 2012 levels. Now let's move on to see how we're doing this year. So far, in 2014, we have not only seen dues exceed our plan by $3.76 million, we've also seen expenses fall well below estimates. For example, A&S expenses are $2.7 million below plan, while A&S income is $2.5 million above plan, resulting in an A&S surplus of $5.2 million. MECs are also operating well within their budgets with an aggregate surplus of $770,000, while national committees are running a $635,000 surplus year to date. On a consolidated basis, year to date in 2014, we continue to trend positive with a surplus of more than $6 million. As we look at our dues income, we see exactly how far we've come since the industry struggled post 9/11 and the dramatic decline in income in 2008 and 2009. In 2014, we budgeted more than $123 million in dues revenue, yet we project that number to actually come in at $130 million, or 6% higher than planned. In 2015, we were budgeting $135.4 million in revenue, which is an increase of nearly $12 million, or 9.6% over 2014. This not only brings us back to the revenue levels that we saw in 2003, it exceeds it. ALPA's operating contingency fund balance in 2014 is also rebuilding. If you will recall, as recently as 2008, this fund was broke and needed to be backstopped by the MCF. Thanks to that, and thanks to your continued focus on financial discipline, that fund has recovered and continues to move forward in a positive direction. Like last year, we allocated an additional $200,000 off the top of dues revenue that will go to the OCF operating fund. The operating fund provides supplemental funding to eligible MECs for expenses related to contract negotiations or other extraordinary circumstances. Through the end of July, the OCF balance stands at a little over $6 million, which is nearly $1 million more than I reported to you just 6 months ago. These funds will ensure that MECs will continue to have the supplemental funding they need to meet the challenges that they face. The MCF, a vital asset of this association, has also stabilized and continues to rebuild. As of July 2014, we have over $45 million ready to assist our pilots should the need arise. This again demonstrates the effect of policies that were put in place that helped us strengthen the fund, including allocation and spending guidelines for MCF requests, as well as moving the Kitty Hawk premium and organizing expenses from the MCF to the A&S account. In 2014, the MCF was able to provide $1 million to support our SOS campaign, which confronts attacks on our pilots and their families head on. Beginning in 2015, the MCF will be recapitalized with dues money for the first time since 1994. $500,000 in dues revenue will be allocated off the top to accelerate the rebuilding of this most strategic asset. With your support and guidance, we will continue to grow and protect this fund so that it is available for our pilots. Now, one of my duties as VP of Finance is to serve as chairman of the ALPA Pilot Welfare Benefit Plan, commonly known as the VEBA. The VEBA is the trust that provides our members, U.S. members, with insurance products to supplement the benefits that we negotiate in pilot contracts. Those insurance products include life, loss of license, and AD&D. I am happy to announce that, due to favorable claims experience and investment performance, the VEBA board has approved a 10% reduction on our loss of license plan premiums for the coming year. This is the direct result of the National R&I Committee's continuing effort on their part to bring value to being an ALPA member. Turning to next year, I am pleased to report that ALPA's Executive Council unanimously approved the association's budget for 2015. The budget, as approved, has a projected dues income of $135.4 million, which is a nearly $12 million increase over 2014. As in past budgets, the 2015 revenue forecast is derived from actual dues revenue from each pilot group during the first half of the year and then adjusted by the following factors: pay raises in existing contracts, airline growth or capacity reductions, pilot hiring or reductions as measured by an increase or decrease in pilot payroll, and finally, profit sharing. At the Executive Board's direction, we built the 2015 budget based on a presumed 1.85% dues rate, with additional monies that would be available under a 1.9% dues rate to be held as a strategic reserve fund, which works out to be about $3.6 million. In addition, the board directed the Executive Council to determine whether a budget based on the 1.85% dues rate would result in any adverse effect on services or on MEC income. At its August meeting, the Executive Council unanimously found that the approved budget based on the 1.85% dues rate would not have an adverse effect on services provided by ALPA or on MEC income. At this meeting, you will have an agenda item for your consideration that would make a recommendation to the Board of Directors on the dues rate for the coming year. More on that in a moment. The 2015 budget for the A&S account also reflects our continued commitment to fiscal responsibility while we continue to provide the level of services our members need and expect. We are continuing to support our staff while seeking ways to keep our costs stabilized. Through a successful reorganization of ALPA staff, we are doing more with less and doing it effectively, as seen, for example, through our successful SOS campaign. ALPA is also working to involve more pilots on both Capitol Hill and Parliament Hill. As the voice of professional pilots in both the United States and Canada, we are committed to protecting this industry, our profession, and this budget reflects that critical effort. Now, later today in Delegate Committee 2, we will present a more detailed report on the 2015 budget, as well as the most current report on the 5-year MEC forecasts. The basis of that discussion will be the 2 documents that you have in front of you at your spot. So for those of you that will be in Delegate Committee 2, we'll be going over both of those documents in detail. Now, in closing, collectively, as financial stewards of the association, our financial discipline and sound planning over the past year have put your union on solid financial ground. And I'd like to thank you for your dedication to that effort. And I'd like to thank you for a job well done. And we must maintain that focus on financial discipline because we still face many challenges ahead, but I am confident that we have the resources to deal with them effectively. So thank you again for your attention, and thank you for volunteering to serve your profession, your fellow pilots, and your families.